Shalom, Shalom. Want to give all the praise, all the glory, all the honor unto Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushai, Ba'ashem, Rakah Kodash. Double honors goes out to the elder apostles of Great Millstone for teaching me the truth. Also want to acknowledge all the Akyam who are pushing the truth with sincerity throughout the four corners of the earth, all right? Shalom to the elect. This is Shabai from the GMS Denver camp, and I'm going to go in on John 1:1. It says, "In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was the Most High, and the Word was the Most High. The same was in the beginning with the Most High. All things were made by Him, and without Him was not anything made that was made." Okay? So, hey, it tells you right here that nothing is made unless Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai made it, okay? Because you got to know that Yahweh spoke Yahushai, that He spoke that first spirit into existence. That's why it tells you in Revelation that Yahushai is the Alpha and the Omega, because He was the first spirit created by the Heavenly Father. And everything was made, though. You know, He spoke Yahushai into existence, and then Yahushai and the Elohim were created, which were the angels, and created, you know, they all assisted with the creation, okay? The first fruits, right? But everything was made and inspired from the Most High. It was all His idea, His inspiration. Verse 3, all things were made by Him, and without Him was not anything made that was made. In Him was life, and the life was the light of men. All right, and the light shineth in darkness, and darkness comprehended it not. Right? So the light is the understanding of this knowledge, this truth. Because you got a lot of people, they read the scriptures, but just because you read the scriptures doesn't mean you have understanding. And just because you read the scriptures doesn't mean you have the light. The light is reserved unto the prophets of Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai. Verse 6, there was a man sent from the Most High whose name was John. The same came for a witness, to bear witness of the light, and all men through him might believe. He was not that light, but was sent to bear witness of that light. Right. So John wasn't the light, but he was bearing witness of Yahushai, who was the light. And remember, Yahushai was the one who had the 100% understanding. Just like right now, you have, you know, our elders, they always declare and claim that we have 100% truth. The other camps don't have the 100% truth. And that's the same thing with Yahushai. He had 100% truth, meaning 100% understanding. Verse 9, that was the true light which lighteth every man that cometh into the world. He was in the world, and the world was made by Him, and the world knew Him not. Right, because He was a stumbling block. Yahushai was a stumbling block to the world, and really the world of Israel, because even the Israelites stumbled at Yahushai. You only had the elect of that time that had that spirit that was able to receive Yahushai. Okay, it says, He came unto His own, and His own received Him not. Right, that's what I just said. The Israelites didn't receive Yahushai. You know, not all the Israelites, I should say. But as many as received Him, to them gave He power, and became the sons of the Most High, even to them that believe on His name. Right, so that's the elect. The elect are the only ones who have the spirit to receive Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai. Okay? The elect are the ones who are, we have the spirits to receive the truth, which were born not of blood, nor of will of the flesh, nor of the will of man, but of the Most High. And the Word was made flesh and dwelt among us, Yahweh Shai. And we beheld his glory. We observed his beauty. The glory as of the only begotten of the Father, full of grace and truth. Right? Because every other spirit or man created was begotten of a father and a mother. And Yahweh Shai, he was begotten of the Father as the first spirit, the first spirit created. Yes, he was born by a mother and a father, Joseph, and Mary had sex, which, brought forth Yahweh Shai. But in the beginning, he was spoken into existence, if you will, when he was Adam, But even before the foundations of the earth, he was, that spirit of Yahweh Shai, which created, along with the Elohim, was inspired the creation story in Genesis. Verse 15, John bare witness of him and cried, saying, This was he of whom I spake, and he that cometh after me is preferred before me, for he was before me. So even though John the Baptist, even though he was born before Yahweh Shai, he understood the truth, what I'm explaining. He understood that Yahweh Shai was the first spirit created. Okay? So he was the first spirit created. A lot of these Christians, they don't understand that. They don't understand that because there's reincarnation in the Bible. So they're like, how is the Messiah the first spirit when they call him Jesus, and they say he didn't come until the time of the Romans. Oh, they don't understand reincarnation. The spirit of Yahweh Shai was the first spirit in existence, and of his fullness have all we received, and grace for grace. For the law was given by Moses, but grace and truth came by Yahweh Shai HaMashiach, right? So yeah, the Moses, the Mosaic law, as they call it, the law was given during the time of Moses, but grace and the truth, which is the truth understanding. Remember, the light, Yahweh Shai represents the light. He represents the truth, the understanding. That's why our people were going off before Yahweh Shai was on the scene. They weren't able to, they stumbled. And he was a stumbling block. Because a lot of our people didn't believe that he was the son of the Most High Yahweh. Just like they don't believe that we're the prophets of Yahweh, B'Shem Yahweh Shai. No man hath seen the Most High at any time. The only begotten Son, which is in the bosom of the Father, he hath declared him. And this is the record of John when the Jews sent priests and Levites from Jerusalem to ask him, Who art thou? Right. Because remember, the Jews, which are the Judites, a lot of the Jews didn't receive him, but a lot of the Jews did receive him. And the same thing with Levi. Just like right now, not every single Judite, which is your so-called Negroes, you guys are the true Jews of the Bible, the tribe of Judah. Jew is short for Judah. Not all you people receive or believe in Yahweh Shai. A lot of y'all believe in cracker Jesus. A lot of y'all don't even believe in the truth. You have that spirit of Esau, which is an atheist spirit on you. So he's a stumbling block for the 2/3. Verse 20, and he confessed and denied not, but confessed, I am not Hamashiach. And when they asked him, What then? Art thou Elias? And he saith, I am not. Art thou that prophet? And he answered, No. Then said they unto him, Who art thou? That we may give an answer to them that sent us. What sayest thou of thyself? He said, I am the voice of one crying in the wilderness. This was John the Baptist, which speaking about. They asked him, Are you Elias? Which he didn't know he was Elias, but he was actually Elijah, which Elias is Elijah. Okay? So let's get the precept to that. Because there's, we always tell you, there's reincarnation in the Bible, but you don't have no remembrance of who you are. It tells you that in Ecclesiastes. Okay? Everything is reincarnated, regenerated, renewed, But when they asked John the Baptist if he was Elijah, he didn't realize he was Elijah. That's why he said, "No, I'm not Elijah." All right? Let me get this precept real quick. All right. Yeah, here it is. Matthew. It's in Matthew 17. Yeah, Matthew 17 and 12. It says, I'll start at 10, Matthew 17 and 10. And his disciples asked him, saying, Why then say the scribes that Elias must come first? And Yahushua answered and said unto them, Elias truly shall first come and restore all things. Right, and Yahushua knew that John was Elias, which was Elijah. The Greek way of saying Elijah is Elias. So it says, shall first come and restore all things. So he was the one who was crying in the wilderness. And then Yahushua was the one who would baptize them with fire. Remember, John baptized with water and Yahushua baptized with fire. Which the fire, it represents this knowledge, this truth. And then eventually it's going to actually be an actual fire when Yahushua comes back. You know, these people are going to they're going to be a sacrifice and the altar is going to be Babylon, America. It says, but I say, verse 12, but I say unto you that Elias or Elijah is come already, and they knew him not, but have done unto him whatsoever they listed. Likewise shall also the Son of Man suffer of them. Then the disciples understood that he spake unto them of John the Baptist. Okay? So Yahushua was giving them the breakdown. He's like, yo, Elijah already came, but you didn't know. You didn't realize who it was. Okay? Let's see. Oh, yeah, and then it says right here in verse 23, he said, John 1:23, he said, I am the voice of one crying in the wilderness, make straight the way of Yahweh, as said the prophets Isaiah. And that's talking about Isaiah. So like, yeah, I said Elias. But it said up here, oh yeah, when they asked him in 21, when they asked him, what then, art thou Elias? And he saith, I am not, art thou that prophet? And he answered, no. Because John didn't realize that he was Elijah. Because, just like we don't know, we know the prophets are reincarnated, regenerated, but we don't know who we are. We don't know which prophet is who, But it tells you in Ecclesiastes, right here in 11, Ecclesiastes 1:11, it says, there is no remembrance of former things, neither shall there be any remembrance of the things that are to come, which with those that shall come after. When you read that chapter, this whole chapter in Ecclesiastes, the first chapter, you realize that it's talking about the renewal or everything being regenerated, reincarnated, including the waters, the rivers, the sun goes up and it comes back around. Go read that chapter when you, excuse me, Salakia, when you get a chance. But there's no remembrance. That's why John answered the way he did. When they asked him if he was Elijah, he said, no, I'm not Elijah. Right here in 21, I'll read it again. And they asked him, what then, art thou Elias? And he saith, I am not. Art thou that prophet? And he answered, no. Because why? There's no remembrance. All right? But he was the one in the wilderness who was preparing the way for Yahushua. Yahushua, who was the one who came and restored, Yahushua was the one who had the true light, the true understanding. All right? And they asked him in let's read 24. And they which were sent were of the Pharisees, right? The Pharisees was trying to catch him up. And they asked him and said unto him, Why baptize thou then, if thou be not the Hamashiach nor Elias, neither that prophet? John answered them, saying, I baptize with water, but there standeth one among you whom ye know not. He it is who coming after me is preferred before me, whose shoes latchet I am not worthy to unloose. Talking about Yahushai, you see. So I'm literally gonna close on that because I got to get back to work. But I wanted to get in a quick lesson. Going to meet with some brothers. The brothers from El Paso, Texas, are in town over here in Denver, and it's going to be a beautiful week for me, Lord's will, because I'm going to be, in the presence of brothers from El Paso here after work today, and then Lord's will tomorrow I'm heading to Arizona, and I'll be with brothers in Arizona, Lord's will, on Sunday in holding camp with the brothers in Arizona. So I wanted to go in on the lesson, and that was the Spirit took me to that. Yup, John was Elijah the prophet in reincarnation, regeneration. Right, Yahushua explained it to them. So, but Yahushua was the light. Yahushua was the truth, So with that, I want to give all the praise, all the glory, all the honor to Yahweh, Bahashem Yahushai, Bahashem Rakakudash. Double honors goes out to the elder apostles of Great Millstone for teaching me the truth. Also want to acknowledge all the Hakim who are pushing the truth with sincerity throughout the four corners of the earth. Shalom to the elect.